Hello, it is I, ModernSphinx, playing Total War Warhammer 3 as Settra. This is the second part of the series. I'm trying something a little different by experimenting with voiceovers here. Still learning and figuring out what my editing style is going to be like and everything, but let's hop right on into it, shall we? As far as victory conditions go, we need to destroy the following factions. They're already destroyed. The Followers of Nagash, the Cult of Sigmar, and Drakenhof Conclave. Those are all taken care of. They're gone. Occupy, loot, or raise 30 different settlements. We're at 22 of 30, and we're fairly close to that short victory. Long victory, 60 settlements, which is insane. We need to hold 11 of the following settlements. We hold 5 of them. Ensure these buildings have been constructed. They have been. And there's a domination victory one, which is 272. We're not doing that. Long campaign victory. So, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. So, we need this one. This one. That one. That one. Whatever that one is. And that one. Yikes. That's quite a few. Now that we have the victory conditions all sorted out, let's talk about the most important recruitment I have made of the game, which is High Queen Khalida as a commander for the Tomb King forces. She is a excellent leader, especially when paired with a lot of the snake units for the Tomb Kings, and plays a pretty pivotal role against certain enemy armies later in the game. Now she would be perfect to march against the dwarves. She's already level 15 as well. Wow. And then he's coming in at level 6. Interesting. I can only recruit one of these at the moment, and I'd rather recruit her.
Scream!
She's on a Necroserpent. Wow. Okay. Okay, well, the choices made here are not exactly what I would have anticipated, upgrade-wise. Yeah, what I was too nice to say back then was that the AI absolutely sucks at picking upgrades sometimes. These upgrades that are on the character right now only boost your early game units, which makes sense considering this was a faction leader before they got wiped out. The reason we got Queen Khalida in the first place was due to completing a ritual that let us confederate her faction. If her faction was already destroyed, we get her as a leader instead. Her faction was unfortunately destroyed, meaning we do miss out on the lands and the free army. But we still get a very powerful leader here. One that has huge bonuses to Snake Warriors, which we will be seeing in a little bit. Trust me. It's good. You know what? We're going to do it. Wounded for 3 turns. So, in the meantime, we're gonna... Okay, wow. So we cannot bring him in while she's wounded. Okay, fair enough. Now it is at this point where we end up having a bit of a time of peace for a good, 20, 30 turns. It's a while. but it gives us a chance to get Queen Cleta back, build up her army, build up another leader's army whom we managed to recruit from the Dynasties tab. I do make a slight error where I decide, oh hey, he gets a bunch of bonuses towards the Tomb King's basically version of light cavalry. It's just guys riding around on skeletal horses. Some have lances, others have swords, and others still have bows and arrows, kind of like mounted missile units. Yeah, I regret building up his army. Queen Khalid's army I like. It's a very strong army. It's essentially our version of a heavy cavalry, whereas our version of light cavalry just really, it's fine in the early game. It drops off so rapidly at this stage. It was not worth the investment. But I did it anyways. Figured I'd keep it thematic towards their bonuses. Now we also did a bit more here as well. There is the second book of Nagash we managed to obtain, or at least our second book. And we ended up finding some trespassers from the Bretonnian faction to the west and the orcs to the south. This is my chance.
I refuse.
King of battle. Settra is merciful.
Okay. Defeated her with him, which is huge. Now at this point, I had no idea how huge this actually was, because this kicked off a war not just with the Bretonnians to my west. Oh no. But the orcs, just a few turns later, decided to try and take advantage of my distracted state and attack me in the south as well. Now, I anticipated this and managed to have an army down there to fight them off and eventually even go on the offensive against them, taking the battle to their south and giving these cities to Teclis, who I am attempting to build up into a formidable ally to protect my southern borders. Now, the problem is Teclis, he kind of sucks in here. Honestly, I've been trying to get him to do something, and he's been keeping Kairos, the Zinchian leader, busy, and he's been keeping the Slaneshi minor faction down there away from us as well. But aside from that, he's not contributing a lot. Now, on the plus side, I am able to focus the majority of my forces on the Bretonnians. The problem is, I find out very quickly their cavalry is a lot stronger than our standard units. Especially our own light cavalry. I found that out at least 2 times. My army built of nothing but light cavalry just got decimated. I honestly don't understand why I was so obsessed with keeping him focused entirely on that type of unit. Yeah, that's where his bonuses are, but it was a bad choice. Honestly, sometimes just because you have a bonus in something doesn't mean you should utilize it, as I am learning here. Now, on the plus side, the war against the Bretonnians does go well. I end up taking that whole area, as we'll see in a minute.
Keep your head bowed.
They've ended their non-aggression pact with me. That's bad. Yeah, that's bad, alright. But we don't get to see how bad that is for a little bit, because at this point, our war against the orcs in the south starts going on in earnest, with King Wakaf, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, being the main and for most of the war there only army of ours. We do eventually send a second army down there, but he is the main attacking force against the orcs at this point in the game, and actually has some pretty good success. In the meantime, we have taken over almost all of the Bretonnian-owned lands in this region of the world, and are even contemplating sailing some units up to the north to take a couple of their cities there and hand them over to the Dwarven Kingdom to try and appease them. So at this point, I decided to do a pretty major cut here. Just so you know, this is a recording of essentially 10 hours of footage that I'm trying to cut down into a decent length of video. As you can see here, we are still at war with the enemy to the south. That's fine. We've already got two armies down there at the moment, both working together to try and face off against Zinch and Slanesh minor faction as well. And as you have seen just a moment ago, we are currently at war with Clan Moors of the Rats. Well, the Skaven, that's their name. We also, sometime around this point, end up deciding to take some of the Skaven cities. We decide, hey, these are cities that aren't exactly going to be doing us much good, so we decide to make our typical play here, and we give the cities to one of our neighbors to try and get them on our side. We eventually end up vassalizing the Ogre Kingdom, the Maw, right above us, much like we did with Teclis in the last recording. It's honestly pretty huge for our border security, as the Ogre King is fairly strong at this state. However, he was not at war with the Skaven until after we brought him into our fold. Hence why he wasn't taking the Skaven territory we were. We did still decide to try and hand over a couple of cities to the Dwarven Kingdom to our north, but they very much hate us at this point because of us wiping out the Bretonnian faction that was right next to us. They did not like that, like, at all. And we angered them even further by vassalizing the Ogre Kingdom, because they absolutely do not get along with the Maw in this game. Maybe in other games they might, but in this one, no. They did not appreciate that at all. And my plans on trying to vassalize them, or at least make an alliance with them, pretty quickly deteriorated at this point. Now here's a fun little battle I had with the Slaanesh minor faction down in the south with, yeah, I'm not gonna try to pronounce his name again. You've heard me try and pronounce it earlier in this recording. I'm sure that's close enough. But let's see how this plays out. It was calling for this to be a defeat. I believed in here that we very much could win this, so I mean, obviously with heavy losses, yeah, but I did not think with the forces they had that they would be able to defeat us in here. So I decided to try my hand at manually fighting this, and I think this was a pretty interesting battle. Hence why I'm leaving it in here. But let's see how it goes. So my main reasoning for believing I could win this battle is due to the fact that half my infantry in this army are specifically built to be anti-infantry troops. Yes, they are fairly disposable like most of the undead units. Most of the Tomb King units, especially the infantry, are very easy to replace. You don't have to worry too much about losing them because you can replace them very, very easily. But compared to other factions like Slaanesh, they're a bit more well balanced. You want that balanced army approach, which I tend to struggle with. I tend to go all in on one thing and then all in on another with another army, but in this case I was all in on infantry, specifically infantry that was good against other infantry, because this was the faction I was using against the orcs. And the orcs were very low tech at this stage of the game. Infantry was their main army. Now, thankfully, that works out well against Slaanesh as well. Slaaneshi troops are low health, high speed, high damage. Like, very high damage. But with my commander bouncing back and forth between their commander and their heroes, it was an easy victory. Normally I take this. I'm going to take the army replenishment. We're still dealing with attrition. The Reichland has been destroyed? Okay, now that's serious.
Keep your head bowed.
You're declaring war on me. That's not good. That's really bad. Oh, it's bad indeed, because that means we are at war on 3 fronts at once, which is the worst thing you can do in this game. You generally want to try and keep the enemy all in one direction. So this puts me in a very difficult spot. And on top of that, I did send an army all the way over to Lustria. Looking at the
black-hearted
enemy army, and that's in air quotes here, that is defending the Book of Nagash there, the army I sent stands no chance in taking it. On top of that, it is in Hexalotl territory, which means I have to trespass against them just to have scouted that out. I really should have sent a prince with him to do the scouting for me. But it is what it is. Things aren't as out of control yet as they could be. The end is nigh. Rumors are spreading throughout the land that dwarves are starting to mobilize. We're getting reports of old alliances breaking, clans turning on their neighbors. Use your time wisely to prepare. Uh-oh. That's right. So at this point in the game, we are starting to get little hints as to what the end game scenario has been selected for this. Now, every time you click start a new game and you start a campaign and things like that, it will randomly select from a list, and you can pick from the list what you want to have as the end game scenario. You can pick that if you want, but in this case, I had everything selected. It picked one at random, and yeah, it looks like a Dwarven Tide, as I like to call it. And we'll be seeing that later on. Now, I have no idea what that entailed at this point in time in the game at turn 110. But it's not good. It is a terrible matchup for our faction. Probably the worst one of those. Then again, I'm not very familiar with the end game scenarios. There could be ones that are worse. There could be ones that are better. There are ones that are much better than this one. This one, like I said, is going to be the absolute worst. But before it gets to that point, let's see another way in which the game decides to absolutely screw me over. Oh, this is going to be fun. Sense of defeat, where did you come from? That is right. In my most vulnerable state, in my most vulnerable part of my empire, the Dreadfleet decided to step on in and add a fourth direction in which I am being attacked. I'm having to deal with a war in the south. I'm having to deal with a war to the north, a war to the east, and now a war to the, northwest. Mostly west, though. And yeah, we just went from barely holding on, but still making pretty good progress, to holy cow, this is a disaster, what am I going to do? So yeah, I immediately get to work on getting some emergency armies put together that, as it turns out, take absolutely forever to make, and set to work on kicking out the Dreadfleet as soon as I can. They do end up marching over like 5, maybe 6 armies, and really start causing some chaos in the meantime. I end up having to divert some forces over to deal with them, which really slowed down my war on the other fronts. Now, the good news is I am taking territory in the east, which is actually decent territory for us. Things like the mountain ranges are not. Desert areas like this here are where we thrive, because in this game the environment truly does matter for your settlements. Now, their penalties aren't that bad if you know how to deal with them, but it still takes a few build slots away if you want to deal with them passively. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is we've still got that end game event coming, and it's gonna be bad. A grudge too far. The dwarves have decided en masse that it's time to finally settle their grudges. All of them. and a single tide of blade and gunpowder. While some grudges may be justified, others seem to be thinly veiled attempts at land grab. They are no longer open to diplomacy, so the only solution now is destruction. It begins. Clan Angrund has now likely declared war to me. Control 6 of the following settlements. Oh my gosh. For a campaign victory. Oh, and they've spawned armies. Absolutely bloody everywhere. Okay. That's right. All of the dwarves are now hostile to everybody. They got free armies of their top units just popping up everywhere. Again, for free. Can't emphasize that enough. And the settlements I need to capture to secure victory for this are about as far away as they can possibly be, and as heavily defended as they can possibly be, to the point where it would likely take me close to 100 more hours just to win this. So, I have achieved a short victory in here. A long victory is honestly super easy to obtain at this point, because the only things left that I have to worry about is just taking more settlements at this point. So I'm going to call the campaign here. I'm satisfied with a short/long victory, but in the meantime, I think this is a good place to call it. I did continue playing for another 5 hours at this point. If you enjoyed watching this and would like to see me play as any other factions, or want me to try doing this on a live stream, let me know in the comments. I would appreciate that. I am considering switching over. I have been streaming on Twitch for a while now. I've been considering moving to YouTube, or even switching it up to dual streaming. Once I get that all figured out, it's going to take a few weeks before I have that settled due to some real life events as well. But I appreciate the watch on this video, and yeah, if there's any comments, suggestions, gameplay recommendations, let me know in the comments. And you have a good one. Bye.